A foldable bathtub that appears from beneath the floor. A dining table that transforms into three separate pieces of furniture with a single motion. Kitchen counters so precisely organized that a family of four cooks full meals in a space smaller than most walk-in closets. Japan doesn't just save space, it reveals how thoughtlessly the rest of us waste it. Walk into a 22 square meter apartment in Tokyo and you'll notice something immediately. There's no clutter, no chaos, no sense of compromise. Instead, every corner, every vertical inch, every gap between objects has been considered, not decorated, not filled. Considered. Here are 15 space-saving solutions from Japanese apartment design that will make you look at your own home completely differently. Number 1. The Jenkin step that does 4 jobs at once. You walk into a Japanese apartment and immediately step down into a recessed entryway called a Jenkin. It's not decorative. That single step creates a physical and psychological boundary between outside dirt and interior cleanliness. You remove your shoes on the raised platform. The shoes stay in the Jenkin, which is easier to clean because it's tile or stone, not the wood or carpet of the main living space. But here's where it gets clever. That step isn't just a dirt barrier. Underneath the raised platform, there's hollow space. Japanese designers turn this into pull-out shoe storage drawers. You slide out a shallow drawer from the side of the platform and 20 pairs of shoes sit flat, organized, ventilated, and completely invisible when the drawer closes. The step also forces you to pause. You can't rush into the apartment. You have to stop, remove shoes, and transition. That pause is intentional. It keeps dirt out, but it also keeps the mental clutter of the outside world from flooding in. Meanwhile, the rest of the world either piles shoes by the door in a chaotic heap or dedicates an entire closet to shoe storage. Japan just used a structural necessity, a step, and turned it into storage, a cleaning boundary, and a mental reset point, all from one 8-inch platform. Number 2. Sliding doors that eliminate dead space. Every hinged door in your home requires clearance. Open a bedroom door and you need about 2 square meters of empty floor for the door's swing arc. That space you cannot put furniture in. You cannot walk through it while the door is opening. It just sits there, reserved for a door that's only moving for 3 seconds at a time. Japanese apartments replace hinged doors with sliding fusuma or lightweight modern sliding panels. The door glides along a track mounted on the floor and ceiling. There is no swing arc, no reserved Chinese letter. You can place furniture right up to the door frame because the door never intrudes into the room. But it goes further. Many sliding doors are reversible or removable. You can slide a fusuma door open and tuck it into a recessed pocket in the wall where it disappears entirely. Suddenly 2 small rooms become 1 large room. You host a dinner party, you slide the door away, and your 12 square meter living room connects to your 6 square meter bedroom to create an 18 square meter entertaining space. The next morning you slide the door back and privacy returns. The door doesn't just save space, it makes space flexible. It makes the apartment reconfigurable depending on what you need that day. In non-Japanese homes, walls are permanent and doors are obstacles. In a Tokyo apartment, walls are suggestions and doors are tools. The difference is that one approach treats space as fixed and the other treats it as adaptable. Number 3. The kitchen triangle compressed to arm's length. In a Japanese apartment kitchen, you can stand in one spot and reach the stove, the sink, and the refrigerator without taking a step. This isn't an accident. It's a design principle called the single-position workflow. The sink is directly in front of you. The 2-burner stove is immediately to your right. The refrigerator is to your left, 1 pivot away. Above you, cabinets. Below you, pull-out drawers for pots, pans, and dry goods. Behind you, a small counter for prep work. Everything is within a 90-centimeter radius. You wash vegetables in the sink, turn right and place them on the stove, turn left and grab seasoning from the fridge. No walking, no wasted motion. The workflow is so efficient that Japanese home cooks prepare elaborate multi-course meals in kitchens that are often less than 3 square meters. The secret is vertical storage and zero redundancy. There are no junk drawers. There are no empty corners. Every utensil has a designated slot. Knives are magnetic mounted on the wall. Cutting boards slide into narrow vertical gaps between the counter and the wall. Dish racks sit inside the sink, not beside it. The entire design eliminates the assumption that kitchens need to be large. They don't. They need to be logical. Meanwhile, Western kitchens sprawl across 6 or 8 square meters and still manage to feel inefficient because the workflow requires walking between distant stations. Japan just realized that your arms have a longer reach than you think, and your legs don't need to be part of cooking. Number 4. Bathroom sinks that drain into the toilet tank. You flush a Japanese toilet and immediately clean water begins filling the tank. But instead of filling from a hidden pipe, the water routes through a small faucet mounted on top of the tank. You wash your hands in that flow of clean water. The soapy runoff drains into the tank below. That gray water becomes the next flush. You've washed your hands and prepped the next flush simultaneously using the same water. It's a closed loop. The system saves roughly 8 liters of water per flush because the water does double duty. There's no additional plumbing complexity. The faucet is just a spout connected to the tank's refill valve. Soap residue is minimal and doesn't affect flush performance because the water is diluted across the entire tank. But beyond the water savings, it saves space. You don't need a separate sink in the bathroom. The sink is the toilet. In a 22 square meter apartment, eliminating a standalone sink frees up half a square meter, which is enough room for a washing machine or a storage shelf. The rest of the world installs a toilet and a sink as two separate fixtures, runs two separate water lines, and uses twice the water to accomplish what Japan does with one fixture and one flow. It's so simple that the only question is why this isn't standard everywhere. If you're realizing that you've been wasting space for years and want to see more intelligent designs like these, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the rest of this list. Things are about to get even more clever. Number 5. Beds that disappear into walls. A bed dominates a room. Even a single bed occupies about 3 square meters of floor space. And that space is useless for 20 hours a day. Japanese apartments use wall-mounted Murphy beds, but with a critical difference. These aren't the clunky American-style fold-down beds that require you to clear the floor and wrestle with a counterweight spring. Japanese wall beds use pneumatic or hydraulic pistons. You press a small latch, pull gently, and the bed lowers smoothly with almost no resistance. The mattress is secured with elastic straps so it doesn't slide off when stored vertically. Bedding stays on. You make the bed in the morning, fold it up, and everything, pillows included, stays in place behind the closed panel. When the bed is stored, the wall panel looks like a wardrobe or a clean surface. Some designs have shelves or a fold-down desk attached to the outer panel, so when the bed is up, you gain a workspace. When the bed is down, the desk folds away. One wall does two jobs depending on the time of day. A 12 square meter studio apartment becomes a living room during the day and a bedroom at night without requiring separate rooms. Japan doesn't treat furniture as static. Furniture is dynamic. It appears when needed and vanishes when it's not. Meanwhile, most of us just accept that a third of our apartment is a bed that we use for 8 hours and then step around for the other 16. Number 6. Stacking washers and dryers in vertical columns. Floor space is precious. Vertical space is cheap. Japan installs washing machines and dryers in vertical stacks, one on top of the other using a reinforced mounting bracket. The washer sits on the floor. The dryer mounts directly above it, bolted to a frame that distributes weight to the wall. The entire laundry system occupies about half a square meter of floor space instead of a full square meter. But it's not just stacking for the sake of stacking. Japanese washers are front-loading and compact, usually 45 to 50 centimeters wide. They use less water and less detergent because the drum rotates on a horizontal axis, which is more efficient than the vertical axis top loaders common in America. Dryers are ventless heat pump models. They don't require an external vent pipe. They recycle air inside a closed loop, extracting moisture into a collection tray that you empty after each cycle. That means you can install a dryer anywhere. No vent hookup, no exterior wall required. You can put a washer and dryer in a bathroom closet, a hallway nook, or even a kitchen corner. Vertical stacking plus ventless drying means laundry machines are no longer locked into a dedicated laundry room. They fit wherever there's a water hookup and a power outlet. In a 22 square meter apartment, that flexibility is the difference between having laundry at home and using a laundromat. Number 7. Tables that split into modular furniture. You sit down at a dining table in a Japanese apartment. It looks normal: wooden surface, clean edges, 4 legs. Then your host lifts one end of the table and the entire thing separates into 3 pieces. The tabletop is actually 2 hinged panels. Fold them flat and they become lap desks or floor cushions for sitting. The base splits into 2 low stools. What was a dining table for 4 is now seating for 6 people sitting on the floor around a low kotatsu heater. Or the stools become side tables. Or the tabletop panels lean against the wall and become shelving surfaces. The furniture has no single fixed function. It has 6 functions depending on how you arrange it. The joinery is simple. Panels connect with sliding grooves or magnet latches. No tools, no screws. You reconfigure it by hand in 30 seconds. This approach comes from a Japanese design philosophy called Kaizen, continuous incremental improvement. Why should a table only be a table? If you're going to own furniture in a small apartment, it should do multiple jobs. The alternative, which most of us accept, is owning a dining table that sits unused 5 days a week and requires a dedicated dining area. Japan just asked, what if the table adapted to your needs instead of you adapting your space to the table? Number 8. Refrigerators that are 30 centimeters deep. Most refrigerators protrude 60 or 70 centimeters from the wall. They dominate the kitchen. You walk around them. You lose counter space beside them. Japanese refrigerators are shallow, usually 30 to 35 centimeters deep, and tall, often reaching 170 centimeters. They store the same volume as a standard fridge but use vertical space instead of horizontal depth. The interior layout is different too. Shelves are narrow but numerous. Each shelf is dedicated to a specific category. One shelf for drinks, one for vegetables, one for dairy, one for leftovers. You don't stack items. Everything sits in a single layer, visible the moment you open the door. That means no digging, no forgetting food in the back, no expired produce hidden behind a milk carton. The narrow depth also makes the fridge easier to install. It fits flush with the counter. It doesn't interrupt the visual line of the kitchen. Some models are designed to slide into a cabinet enclosure so the fridge looks like part of the cabinetry, not an appliance. The entire design prioritizes space efficiency and organization over sheer capacity, because in a small apartment, a giant fridge isn't a luxury, it's a liability. Japan realized that most people don't need to store a week's worth of groceries. They need to store 3 days' worth in a way that's easy to access and doesn't eat up the kitchen. Number 9. Lofted sleeping platforms that create rooms within rooms. Ceiling height in a Japanese apartment is often 2.4 meters. That's higher than you need for standing. Japan uses that vertical space by building lofted sleeping platforms about 1.2 meters off the ground. You climb a small ladder or a set of 3 steps and you're in a sleeping loft. The ceiling above the loft is low, about 1 meter of clearance, just enough to sit up but not stand. That's fine. You only sleep there. Below the loft is where the height matters. That 1.2 meters of space underneath becomes a desk area, a closet, or a small lounge with cushions. You've turned one room into 2 functional zones without building a wall. The loft platform is often a wooden frame with slats, so it's lightweight and doesn't require structural reinforcement. Some designs include pull-out drawers in the platform itself, turning the loft base into a dresser. Others install a fold-down desk on the wall beneath the loft, so your workspace is permanent but doesn't take up floor space. The whole concept works because Japan doesn't assume that a bedroom needs to be a room. A bedroom just needs to be a place to sleep. Everything else, storage, workspace, seating, can happen in the same physical footprint if you think vertically. The rest of us treat floor space as the only space that matters. Japan treats every cubic meter as usable. Number 10. Recessed wall storage that replaces furniture. Walk into a Japanese apartment and you'll notice something missing. There are no dressers, no bookshelves, no freestanding cabinets. Instead, the walls have recessed storage cavities. Between the wall studs, there's about 10 centimeters of depth. Japanese builders turn that cavity into shelving. Cut an opening in the drywall, insert a frame, add shelves or hanging rods, and you have a closet that doesn't consume any floor space. The storage is inside the wall. Some designs use sliding panels to close the storage so it looks like a clean wall when not in use. Others leave it open and treat it like display shelving. The depth is shallow, but that's enough for folded clothes, books, shoes, or dishware. Clothes are folded using the KonMari vertical stacking method, where each item stands upright like a file folder. You see every piece of clothing at a glance. Nothing is buried. The recessed design also works in bathrooms. A cavity beside the shower becomes a shampoo niche. A cavity above the toilet becomes a storage shelf for toilet paper and cleaning supplies. Everything that would normally require a cabinet or a shelf unit is instead built into the wall structure. This approach only works if you plan it during construction, which is why Japanese apartments are designed with storage cavities from the beginning. Meanwhile, most apartments are built as empty boxes and tenants have to fill them with furniture. Japan just realized that storage should be infrastructure, not an afterthought. Number 11. Shoe cabinets that ventilate and deodorize automatically. Shoes in a closed cabinet get musty, they trap moisture, they smell. Japanese shoe cabinets solve this with built-in ventilation. Small fans pull air through the cabinet and exhaust it through vents near the floor. The airflow is slow but constant, just enough to prevent moisture buildup. Some models include a charcoal filter or a UV light that kills bacteria and neutralizes odor. You store your shoes, close the cabinet, and the system runs automatically on a low-power mode that costs almost nothing to operate. The cabinets are narrow, about 20 centimeters deep, and mounted on the wall or built into the Jenkins step area. Shoes are stored vertically on angled racks, so each pair takes up minimal space and you can see every pair without digging. The result is that a family of 4 can store 20 or 30 pairs of shoes in a cabinet that occupies less than half a square meter of floor space, and none of those shoes smell or grow mold. It's a small thing, but it's indicative of a larger design philosophy. Japan doesn't just ask, how do we store this? Japan asks, how do we store this in a way that keeps it in good condition and easy to access? The difference between those two questions is the difference between a pile of shoes by the door and a system that actually works. Number 12. Dish drying racks built into the countertop. You wash a dish, where do you put it? In most kitchens, you set it on a drying rack that sits on the counter, taking up space and collecting dirty water in a tray that you have to empty. Japanese kitchens skip the rack. Instead, there's a slotted drying platform built directly into the counter beside the sink. The platform has narrow grooves. You place wet dishes upright in the grooves. Water drains through the slots directly into the sink. No tray, no standing water, no counter space wasted. When the dishes are dry, you put them away and the platform folds flat or slides into a drawer slot. The counter looks completely clean. Some designs integrate the drying area into the sink itself. The sink has a top grate that sits flush with the counter. You wash dishes in the lower basin and place them on the grate to dry. The grate is removable, so you can use the full sink when you need to wash something large. This design eliminates an entire category of kitchen clutter. You don't need a dish rack. You don't need a drying mat. You don't need counter space dedicated to drying. The counter does it. It's one of those solutions that feels obvious the moment you see it, and then you realize that no one outside Japan seems to have thought of it. Number 13. Closets with adjustable shelving on a grid system. Most closets are fixed, a rod at the top for hanging clothes, maybe one or two shelves. The layout is permanent and it almost never matches what you actually need to store. Japanese closets use a grid system. The back wall has a pegboard or a metal grid with evenly spaced holes. Shelves, rods, hooks, and baskets all attached to the grid using clips or brackets. You can move every component. If you need more hanging space, you remove a shelf and add a second rod. If you need more folded storage, you remove the rod and add shelves. The configuration changes based on your needs and it changes without tools. You just unclip and reclip. The system also maximizes vertical space. Instead of one rod at 170 centimeters, you install two rods, one at 100 centimeters for shirts and one at 200 centimeters for long coats. You use the full height of the closet. The grid system costs almost nothing to install. It's just a panel and a set of brackets, but it transforms a closet from a fixed layout into a flexible storage system. Japan treats closets like workspaces that need to adapt, not like static containers. And once you've used a grid closet, going back to a fixed rod and shelf feels like going back to a flip phone after using a smartphone. Number 14. Balcony storage boxes that double as seating. Japanese apartment balconies are small, often just 1 meter deep and 2 meters wide, barely enough room to stand, but they're still functional. Japan installs waterproof storage boxes on the balcony. The boxes are about 60 centimeters tall, made of resin or coated metal with a hinged lid. Inside, you store cleaning supplies, outdoor tools, or seasonal items. On top, the lid is flat and reinforced. It becomes a bench. You sit on it, you place a plant on it. You use it as a side table when you're having coffee outside. The box keeps things dry, keeps them out of the apartment, and provides seating without taking up additional space. Some designs have a locking mechanism so the box can't be opened by someone reaching over from another balcony, which matters in dense apartment buildings where balconies are close together. The whole setup is simple, inexpensive, and dual purpose. Japan doesn't treat a balcony as wasted space or just a place to hang laundry. It's an extension of the apartment's storage capacity and an outdoor room. The box makes that possible. Number 15. Tatami mats that define flexible room layouts. Tatami mats are thick woven straw rectangles, usually 90 centimeters by 180 centimeters. They're not decorative, they're modular flooring. A room is measured by how many tatami mats fit inside it. A 6-mat room is about 9 square meters. An 8-mat room is 12 square meters. The mats sit edge to edge with no gaps. You can arrange them in different patterns depending on the room's shape, but here's the genius. The mats define zones without walls. Place 4 mats in a square and that's a sleeping area. Place 2 mats in a row and that's a workspace. The boundaries are visual and textural, not physical. You know you're in a different zone because the mat orientation changes. You don't need a wall or a divider. The floor does it. Tatami also has functional benefits. It's slightly cushioned so it's comfortable to sit or sleep on without a chair or a bed frame. It absorbs humidity, which helps regulate indoor moisture levels. It smells like fresh grass when new. And because each mat is a separate unit, you can replace one damaged mat without redoing the entire floor. Japan didn't invent tatami to save space. It was invented centuries ago for completely different reasons. But in a modern 22 square meter apartment, tatami does something critical. It makes a small space feel organized and intentional without using furniture or walls to create separation. It's flooring that does the job of architecture. If you want to see more design ideas from Japan that make you rethink everything about your home, like this video and subscribe so you don't miss what we're covering next. And check out the video on screen now.